It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update as we have the real reason for the fan attack on Seth Rollins this past Monday on Raw. Talks between WWE and New Japan Pro-Wrestling have been confirmed. And we have an update on an expiring WWE contract. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. So let's start with the opening segment of last night's AEW Dynamite Thanksgiving special in Chicago, Illinois, where we saw the long-awaited promo battle between CM Punk and MJF, and boy, was it worth the wait. CM Punk would make his way to the ring ready for a match with QT Marshall, but he was interrupted by MJF, who made his way to the ring to confront him. The two would go back and forth on the mic, with MJF saying that he'll finish Punk quicker than his UFC career, before Punk called MJF a less famous Miz. Not only this, but the comparisons between John Cena and CM Punk continued, which was a theme during the Eddie Kingston-Punk feud, where CM Punk teased a 5-knuckle shuffle in their eventual match. MJF would tell Punk that his motto may as well be hustle, loyalty, and respect. The WWE comparisons would continue, with MJF saying that Punk has always been second best, whether it be behind the You Can't See Me man or the King of Kings, of course a reference to both Cena and Triple H. Punk would then tell MJF that the only way he'll be number one is if he marries Tony Khan's future daughter, once again a reference to Triple H. I don't know about you, but this for me was the best non-match segment in AEW history, and perhaps even the best segment, with both men going all out in their first verbal encounter, with this promo sending waves throughout the wrestling world, with some harsh digs mixed in with some hard truths. Elsewhere on AEW Dynamite last night, we saw Team Taz recruit another member to their group after a contract was signed during a backstage segment. High flyer Dante Martin has been courted by the faction for a number of weeks, and he would accept Team Taz's offer of an official agreement, with Dante signing on the dotted line, to the dismay of his manager and tag partner Lio Rush. Rush had initially denied the offer on behalf of Martin before he took the matter into his own hands. Dante Martin, who originally joined AEW as a tag team with his brother Darius, has broken out as a single star as of late, and will now have Taz as his mouthpiece and some backup from his fellow members. This moment seemingly marks an official heel turn for Martin, who may well be followed by Lio Rush into the group, although this is merely speculation. And for our last story from last night's Dynamite, let's go to the main event, where Cody Rhodes continued to be booed by the All Elite Wrestling fanbase, as has been the case for months at this point. During the match, Cody teamed with Pac and the Lucha Brothers against Malachi Black, Andrade El Idolo, and FTR, where Rhodes would throw his trademark belt into the Chicago crowd. Reminiscent of ECW One Night Stand 2006, the belt would be thrown back into the ring, another sign of rejection towards the American Nightmare. Cody, who has received heat for focusing on multiple outside projects, would tease a heel turn after the show went off the air, reportedly exiting through the heel tunnel, which is on the left side of the entranceway. With that said though, perhaps the best way of making him a heel, should AEW wish, would be by continuing to book him as a quote babyface, making the audience hate him even more. If AEW do want to make Cody a true fan favorite, a heel turn may be the way forward before an eventual turn back. But I guess we'll have to see which option they choose. And now we head down to Mexico for an update on the upcoming match for the vacant AAA Mega Championship. As we know, Kenny Omega was forced to vacate the title due to injuries and upcoming surgeries before it was announced that he would be replaced by Samurai Del Sol in the bout with Vikingo at Triple Mania Regia 2. As reported by Dave Meltzer earlier this week, the main event has now become a multi-man match, with AEW's Jay Lethal being added to the contest. 2 more names are also set to be added, with the stipulation being that of a 5-way elimination. AAA would release a video of Lethal announcing his participation in the match, and he would say, "I have my sights set on the AAA Mega Championship. In fact, I've had my sights set on that for a while because I've been watching. Ever since 2010 when Texano won it, I have been waiting. I've waited and now my moment is finally here. Do I feel bad for Kenny Omega? Sure I do. But what's bad for him is great for me." The match will take place next month on December 4th live from Monterrey, Mexico. Triple Mania Regia 2 will be available for just $19.99 using our Fight affiliate link in the description below if you fancy checking it out. Next up, we have an update regarding one of WWE's major TV network deals, which has now been cancelled. The company's lead broadcaster in Japan for over 2 decades has been J Sports, which is the nation's largest sports broadcaster, which operates 4 channels and an on-demand service. J Sports took to Twitter this week to reveal that their deal with WWE will come to an end effective of January 31st, 2022, and they would say, "Important notice, WWE RAW and WWE SmackDown will be discontinued, and J Sports on-demand WWE pack will be discontinued. If you are a WWE pack subscriber, you will need to cancel the contract." The 2 parties would sign an extension in 2019 with a new 3-year deal coming into play, a deal which will not be renewed. As of this recording, there is no word on if WWE are negotiating with another network in Japan. And next we have some news regarding the recent fan attack on Seth Rollins during a live episode of Monday Night Raw after the individual involved spoke with New York Daily News. On Monday night, as Rollins made his way to the back after a segment with Finn Balor, he would be blindsided by a fan who tackled him to the ground before security intervened. The 24-year-old fan, Elijah Spencer, revealed that he wanted to settle a beef dating back to 2019 over what appears to have been a catfishing scam concocted by someone posing as Seth Rollins on social media. He would tell Daily News, "I apologized to the WWE for my actions. I had a legitimate beef, but as a grown man, I could have settled it another way. If I saw him today, I wouldn't attack him. I've moved on. He was asking me to send him gift cards in exchange for money, mostly $500 or more to see if I was loyal. He asked me to be a wrestling blogger for him. I wanted to work my way up." After exchanging $3,000 in gift cards, the check that the person claiming to be Rollins sent would then bounce. Obviously, the person the fan was talking to wasn't actually Rollins, and he appears to be the victim of an elaborate scam that has exploited not only his naivety, but his fandom. The fan has now been charged with an attempted assault and attempted violation of arts and cultural affairs by disrupting a live sporting event. This week, New Japan Pro-Wrestling star Rocky Romero appeared on the Battleground podcast and would discuss the reported talks between WWE and New Japan, with WWE said to have reached out to the Japanese promotion in order to strike a working relationship earlier this year. The proposed deal was said to be a make-good with the then Daniel Bryan, who wanted to be able to work matches in Japan were he to re-sign with the company, although talks fell through. As we know, Bryan left WWE and joined AEW, with a major reason for this being the ability to work for New Japan. Romero, who acts as New Japan's liaison for international affairs, would confirm the talks, and he said, "I don't really know how much I can actually say. I can actually say that definitely they reached out. WWE reached out as they do every X amount of years. I feel like they reach out. Obviously Danielson being in the middle of that, and it was no secret to Tony Khan either, or AEW. Obviously Tony was a part of that too, once Bryan was completely free and cleared to make those talks with him." So yeah, a lot of people talk. There's talking. I wouldn't go as far as to say that there was ever going to be a deal made or anything like that. It's just that if WWE comes to the door and they want to talk, people are going to listen to what they have to say. Obviously, working with AEW versus working with WWE is 2 completely different things. Romero would add that he feels that AEW understands New Japan's product more than WWE, and they have a respect for their history. Romero feels that the relationship between New Japan and AEW is just at its beginning, describing it as a long-term thing, with both companies building themselves up right now before any major plays are made. And finally, the WWE contract of Johnny Gargano is coming to an end, with the original expiration date reported to have been Friday, December 3rd. With the NXT TakeOver War Games event being held 2 days after this, on the 5th, it has now been reported by Fightful that Gargano has signed an extension to his contract, meaning it will now come to an end on Friday, December 10th, in order to make the show. The situation is similar to that of Adam Cole, who signed a short extension in order to compete against Kyle O'Reilly at NXT TakeOver 36, before ultimately leaving the promotion in favor of AEW. Talks between Gargano and WWE are said to be ongoing, and sources in WWE spoke highly of him for being willing to extend his deal, whilst likely having other suitors outside of the company. Whether a long-term contract will eventually be signed is yet to be seen, with NXT TakeOver War Games perhaps being his last WWE match. Gargano is booked to compete in the main event of the show as part of Team Old School alongside Tommaso Ciampa, Pete Dunne, and LA Knight to take on Team New School consisting of Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes, Tony D'Angelo, and Grayson Waller. Many are expecting this to be a symbolic passing of the torch to the brand's new generation as WWE move further away from the black and gold brand that we once knew. And before you go, make sure you check out my video of the hottest upcoming free agents in wrestling, as many contracts that you need to know are set to expire.